Hello, this is Neil from mypaintgirls.com, and I'm going to go ahead and paint some of this for you using the same techniques I showed in the previous video of blending in Photoshop. So for those of you that have taken a lot out of that video, because it was really the basics of blending colors, like take two colors next to each other and how do you blend them together with different kinds of brushes, like a chalk brush, which is what I painted this background with, or more of like a soft brush and stuff like that. So if I wanted to blend these two colors together, that's mainly what the in the background. That's mainly what the video is about, and I forgot to change my brush back to normal. Okay, so it was mainly about how do you take these two colors and get them to blend, really smoothly here, and get rid of. So how do you, just because that's one of the things I had the hardest times with when I first started painting, was how do I, digitally painting, is how do I blend the colors to get them to look smooth. And if you're having that problem too, that's what that previous video is about. And I think most of you guys figure that out and were able to take those techniques that I taught in that video and apply them to painting. I didn't have enough time to really show how to apply them to, more of a finished version of a painting. So that's what I'm going to try to do now. Make sure I have a blank layer here, which I did paint a little bit over there on. That's fine. I'm going to start with the not the darkest shadows, but pretty dark shadows. I'm going to lay them in really quickly with the pen brush. I'm not going to be explaining really the brushes and stuff I'm using. That's more for the other video where I showed you, step by step how I will go about to do the bikini is on a separate layer. That's why I can't paint over it. That's what I wanted, so that it would stay there. So what I do first is I quickly lay in the shadows of the character with a single lighting source first. Keep it in mind that I know I'm going to be going with a double lighting source, but I just haven't gone there yet, because it's easier to visualize a single light source and get all the forms correct and everything before you move on to a double light source. And it's easy to turn a single light source into a dual light source. So I really don't know how much time I'm going to have to work on this. So, well, I know I have 15 minutes, but I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to get done in 15 minutes. So what I am going to do is I will probably be pausing the video here and there to quickly add the other stuff that I need to add. So this is going to be all dark in here. I'm going to bring up most of all of this is going to be dark on this side for the most part, because the light is not hitting directly on that side. It's kind of hitting at this thing over here. I'm going to do it. And then there's going to be a strong backlight, which is going to kind of roll over her sides. Let's see, so I'm going to kind of like this, and then I'm thinking I want to pull this in more. I'll add the secondary highlights on this side over here. That will bring out more detail of that side of the body. But for now, I'm going to simplify it like a cartoon. Makes it easier. It's a technique that works for me. I don't know if I don't know if it'll work for everyone. So, but it does work for me. A little bit of detail there. Right, so right now it looks like all cartoony and stuff. That's fine. I don't worry about that part yet. This leg it's more flat from this view. This is more rounded like this. Where when you view the leg from this way, it's more flat, so you're going to get a slightly different shading on the leg. It won't be as round like this, so it's going to be more flat, so the shadow won't come as far on each side. Now I'm going to take add just a little bit of detail here, if I don't forget, so I know, okay, I want to just kind of loosely show that muscle, but not too much. I don't want it to be too much, so I'm not going to go too dark of a color. Right, so once I get to this stage here, then it's all about starting to blend those colors together. But before I even start blending those colors together, I'm going to take that same hard brush I was using, and now I'm going to use this brightest light color. I really want to drop this color in, not too far in though, because I need to blend it. If I drop it in farther like this, then I just know I need to blend into it rather than blend out of it. So if I did it thinner, I would blend it out, use the white with the, use the same color and use a soft brush to go around the edges. In this case, I'm going to have to use that darker color and blend into the light because I'm pulling it out farther than it needs to go. So I don't have much time to explain stuff in this video. The other videos where I was explaining stuff, and you only can cover so much information in the short amount of time that you need to do it in. Like so. So that's where the light's hitting her the hardest. And then I will pull that light source down with the soft brush, or even this brush instead, my pencil brush. Just lightly like that. Might just pull a little bit of that light. No, I don't think any of that's going to even receive that light. I mean, it might, from the very corner, that might receive a little bit of light like that. There's some spill light or reflective light that's going to come into this dark shadow part of the body, and it'll start defining some of the shapes in here. Not much of them, but you'll get just a little bit of shapes. This is like the definition within the actual shadow part of the body. Take a little bit of that. I might get a little bit of that light source on the inside of that belly button like that. Again, right now I'm using big brushes. I'm not maybe that crease right there a little bit, kind of just diffuse that down a little bit. I'm using big brushes to stay not too detailed yet. I'm not trying to focus so much on all the details yet. Now this color here I need to blend out, so I'm going to take that color, blend into that color, take that color with the Alt key, and blend those. So I guess I'm explaining just a little bit of what the process is, just not much. So I need to get a nice smooth blend between these colors. Notice I'm using quite a small brush because I don't want to get too big here. This is all quite small details, so I'm trying to keep it that way. Notice I haven't added in the light source to this part of the body yet. Right now I'm just blending in the shadows and everything, and then I'll take that light source and I'll just lightly brush in some of it where the light is going to be, where the spill light is going to be hitting on this side. This is hitting some sort of reflective surface, most like a photographer. Like, let's say, I like to, when I paint, I think of a photographer setup. It just helps me paint better. So where they use those, spill light. I can't remember what they're called. They're like a, just like a piece of reflective white material. And there's different kinds. There's more soft ones that add a softer light, and there's more harsh ones that are more like white metal. And so they add a different amount of spill light. Now notice how defined that muscle is right now. If I want to turn the muscle down, I just take this color and I just brush into the shadow so it flattens it more. Because dark makes things recede and light makes things pop out. The more contrast you have between those two, the more something's going to look like it's popping out at you. I don't want it to look like it's popping out too much though. Okay, now I need to color into this blend. I'm using the same blending techniques that I taught you. There's no different in the other video. These are the blending techniques that it takes to blend into a figure. So you just keep getting your brushes smaller and smaller as you get more and more details. But the techniques I taught with blending two colors together are exactly the same. They're no different. I'm using those same techniques right now. And that's important. So I want to kind of show maybe some of her leg right here, kind of wrapping around. Let me see how that looks. And you get this darkest dark right here, because right where these lights roll over, I'm going to have the warmest part of the body as well. And so I might even paint in just a little bit of red like that, and then kind of just diffuse that a little bit by going back over it with the brown again. And this is going to be where you have that turning over of color. Also, you're going to have some of the darkest darks right there where the colors are turning over. And so I'm going to add bit of those. So it's the warmest part of the skin, and also it's going to be the darkest part of the skin. That's where you get those really dark lines on the body when you have those dual light sources. Just look at some photos, you'll see what I'm talking about, that have like a strong contrast light source. I'm going to soften up some of those edges. Soften up some of these edges here. I'm going to use a bigger brush. I kind of want this to be more soft right here. And then I'll just kind of blend in with a little bit more detail. Like so, kind of soften up all those edges. You can also just use the smudge tool and come in and blur the edges a little bit. There's different techniques. I don't know. I just never liked using the smudge tool. I don't know. I almost feel like it's cheating. It's almost like you're not painting. I don't know. I think that's why I never really got into it. I'm not saying it's cheating. I don't know. I just don't feel like it's doing art the same, and I just don't like it. It doesn't feel as traditional to me. So, although it could kind of mimic, sort of what you're doing with paintbrushes, like more of a dry paintbrush. But I don't know. I just don't like it, so I don't use it. I like this. I like using my color picker, that Alt key a lot, and just coming in and getting the details in that way. Okay, so at this stage here, I'm starting to get, more. It's starting to get more refined. The details and everything of the body are getting more refined. Might want to add just a little bit more of this highlight color here into the skin. Not much. It's just very lightly. I'm just very lightly touching it. It just makes it pop out just a little bit more than it was. And I also want to refine all this more. This is what takes time. This is where you spend your time when you're painting. And I actually want to take my skin color and kind of pull back into there, because I don't want it to be too bright. In fact, I want this to even be less, like so. Just kind of pull into just a little bit like that. Okay, I'm already starting to run out of time. Don't have a whole lot of time left. And so it's really blending all these kinds of colors right here. This is what I think takes so much time when digitally painting, is getting all those little details, especially when it comes to something complicated like with a really complicated light source like this and muscles. It takes a lot of blending to get everything to look how you want it to look. And it can take some time, but just take your time with it. And just keep, adding details until it gets to where you need it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here for a second and work on it some more. Alright, so I spent a little bit of extra time with it, and I didn't get a whole lot more finished because I don't have the time right now to do the whole thing. It'll take too long. This kind of painting takes quite a while to get to a refined look, but I started refining all this area in here, and then I just duplicated the layer, set it to soft light, about 53%, and blurred it out just a little bit. And I think that just adds a little bit extra color to a painting, and I like doing that to most of the paintings I do. So right, there you have it. The same techniques being used, to start getting more toward that realism look. This right here might be a little too yellow, so I'd probably go back into that and start diffusing it. But I like my paintings to have a little bit more color than, let's say, a photograph would if it just uses really basic lighting, kind of bland lighting. I just don't think those photos look all that appealing. And so if you're going, if you're trying to go for that kind of bland photo look, like a photo shoot look without much color to it all, then cool, use all those kind of more bland colors. And you're gonna want, I wouldn't want to do this. I want to stay a lot more desaturated. But I like using more lighting, like warm lighting, more of a warm light and cool light together, and it gets cool. I would even probably hit this with a cooler light back here, or this side with a cooler light or something, just to balance it out. Just think it looks cooler that way. But nonetheless, here it is. Thank you for watching. This is using the exact same techniques I showed in the previous video. This is just more of a refined stage using smaller and smaller brushes. All right, thank you for watching. Pick up one of my videos on my site. Thanks.